So I've had resentments on my mind for the last few days. So I've just quickly looked through them where I'm going to read a bit from page 64, about three-quarters of the way down. So resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else. From it stem all forms of spiritual disease, for we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. When the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out mentally and physically. In dealing with resentments, we set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles with whom we were angry. We asked ourselves why we were angry. In most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore, we were burned up. On our grudge list, we sat opposite each name our injuries. Was it self-esteem, our security, our ambitions, our personal or sexual relations which had been interfered with? Um, and then it gives a few examples. Um, so we went back through our lives. Nothing counted but thoroughness and honesty. When we were finished, we considered it carefully. The first thing apparent was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. To conclude that others were wrong was as far as most of us ever got. The usual outcome was that people continued to wrong us and we stayed sore. Sometimes it was remorse and then we were sore at ourselves. But the more we fought and tried to have our own way, the worse matters got. As in war, the victor only seemed to win. Our moments of triumph were short-lived. It is plain that a life which includes deep resentment leads only to futility and unhappiness. To the precise extent that we permit these, do we squander the hours that might have been worthwhile. But with the alcoholic, whose hope is the maintenance and growth of a spiritual experience, this business of resentment is infinitely grave. We found that it is fatal. For when harboring such feelings, we shut ourselves off from the sunlight of the spirit. The insanity of alcohol returns and we drink again. And with us, to drink is to die. If we were to live, we had to be free of anger. The grouch and the brainstorm were not for us. They may be the dubious luxury of normal men, but for alcoholics, these things are poison. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Paul.
Thanks, Rich. Welcome, everybody. Remember, this is not an AA meeting. This is just a take from one member, sharing it with other members. So let's go back to resentment is the number one offender. Usually when people see or entertain or go over resentment, they call it theirs. My resentment. This is really the conundrum that we try to focus on at these talks. Yeah, now we can go off on all the effects a resentment has, but those effects are magnified by the sense that it's your resentment. Yeah, and so the gift we keep on sharing here is maybe, just maybe, if you are a follower of this book and you read this book with a borrowed pair of glasses, you would read being convinced right above resentment, being convinced that self manifested in various ways it was what had defeated us. This is a very succinct sentence. It has a lot in there, and a lot of it's inescapable. Yeah, I don't know how it can get mixed up. First, being convinced is a very important quality in recovery, because usually how the active addiction continues is our not being convinced that we're fucked, basically. That's the first one in the first step. And then being convinced of these other requirements trigger the opening to the effects of the higher power through the steps. I don't think the higher power is in the steps. I think it comes through the steps. Yeah. So resentment, being convinced that self. Yeah. So convinced that self, very clear. from being convinced, the bridge is that self. I don't know where you come in there. I just don't see it. Being convinced that self, manifested in various ways, is what has defeated us. I think that's a separation, yes? I don't know. I could be insane, but I grew up in America. I was taught English. I thought I had some level of, 2 levels above a coconut, I hope, of understanding, at least the simplicity of what means something and what means something else. And that what's one thing is described is not the description of the other thing. And one thing is self and the other thing is us. And I don't see how they get combined, where the manifestations of self, which are defeating us and have defeated us and will defeat us, are called our manifestations. It does it in the book also. Yeah, this is the stubbornness of it. The stubbornness of this programming, when you're listening to the head, it's going to be very difficult to change the programming of the head. But if you see it's not your programming, yeah, it just works. It just works. This is my humble experience, strength, and hope. It was about the 7th year, while being on the operating table of recovery and not getting up and not playing doctor, I was brought to a conclusion that self was something foreign to me. I was very clear before that 7th year moment that I had been defeated by something. Yeah. Now, I wasn't so clear about the difference between me and self at that time, so that clarity about the problem was not clear. Yeah. So the problems in that little bit of darkness, the problem thrived. Yeah. And I kept taking its manifestations as mine for the first few years of recovery. I did. Then the light got turned on. I saw self as foreign to me, or to foreign to us. Yeah. Just something. It may not have been a lot, but it was enough to see the foreignness of it. Yeah. Just something opened my eye. And here I was, being convinced that self, not us, manifested in various ways, its manifestations, was what had defeated us. Difference, yes? I'm not that. Yeah, and we're going to describe that. And how we describe that self is through its manifestations. Where in our life? And to me, that is really one of the clear directions of the book concerning the 4th step inventory. They may have thought they may not have. Yeah, it doesn't matter. This is how I've seen it. I'm a member here. I'm sharing it with other members. Yeah, maybe you'll see it this way. Then it jumps, of course, being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what has defeated us. We considered, how are we going to consider it? We're going to write it down, basically. Yep. And if you need a formula, Joe and Charlie in the big book seminars present you a formula. You can even download the 4-column inventory process they put out. That goes perfectly with the book, yes? It just makes it clearer. And if you can do 1 column, one line all the way, you can do 800 of them. Yeah, once you get the formula, and any resentment will fit in that formula. Any fear, every harms done to others will fit into that 4-column formula. Yeah. And what's beautiful about doing the inventory this way is you're going to get an answer and it's not going to be yours. Yeah. That's beautiful. Finally, the answer that you're going to hear about the problem is not going to come from the problem. It's going to come from the solution. Yeah. And it can open an incredible vista and bring a lot of relief. Yeah, it just will. So to keep going on with this. So it manifested in various ways. What did? Self. Yeah. So let's not be clear. We see the term self and manifesting. Yeah. It's not your manifestations. I don't know where you get there. Yeah. It's self manifestations in our life. Our meaning us, yeah? This separate. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to look at its common manifestations. That means it has maybe uncommon manifestations that on a broad level wouldn't seem to be shared by everyone. But the common ones, everyone who suffers from alcoholism suffer from these common defeats of these common manifestations. Yeah, the defeats may not seem common to the personal person, but the common manifestations. Okay, we're clear about that, I hope. At least as an invitational level right now. Are you clear that self doesn't mean us? First of all, self is singular and us is plural. So there it's just a weird, I don't know how it gets pasted to the ownership. I know how, but I just can't believe it can it can survive investigation. It's a stubborn fucker, really. It really is. That's why we have to come every week. Repetition is a good way to weaken this glue of the bondage of self. Yeah, it is. Repetition works. So here we are. Okay. So being convinced that this thing, whatever it may be, non-thing, whatever, I see more as an activity, manifests, which are other activities, in various ways, was what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. We put them on paper, yeah? That's what we do in AA, pen to paper. Yeah. Then the next paragraph, and there's not much space between the period after manifestations to resentment. It's not a bridge that's that far, yeah? But somehow, from that one paragraph, the resentment, even though it's crowned resentment, we live as if it's my resentments, yeah? Yes or no? We do. When I went to my first fifth step, I didn't think I was going to talk about resentment. I thought I was going to talk about my resentments and my fear and definitely my harms done to others, even though the harms I did to others are very similar to the harms you did to others. The fears that I seem to have been had by seem very familiar to the fears you had been had by, and the resentments that I held seem to be held by you also. Yeah, the commonality is sticking out like a sore thumb. I cannot believe we cannot see it. Yeah. Now, to see it or to keep seeing it may take a little work because the parasite is against the recognition of the host. It does not want you to see what you're not. It doesn't. It wants you to see what you're not as you. It definitely wants you to see what you're not as you. That's its drive, yeah? Because basically, the gig is up when that curtain is opened, and the beginning of that curtain is the fourth column. Finally, you look at your role in things, and I hope if you really are taking an honest look at it, you're going to see something else's role in things. And I would say that something else can be crowned by the word self in recovery. Yeah. Suddenly, you found the footprints of the parasite and you're not calling them yours. Yes. Hallelujah. Let the investigation continue, please. Yeah. And then the real follow-up to the investigation and what will be revealed after the primary investigation, the inventory, is going to be a lot, and that's the information you can bring to 6 and 7. And have your life restored. Yes. And have what was never lost recovered. It's never been lost. And so this is where, they say experience, strength, and hope. Well, if you have 35 years, I think you got the right to have some opinions. And so this is now my opinions on the next paragraph. Yep. I do not believe we have a spiritual malady. I do not believe spirit could catch a cold. I do not believe spirit could get acne. I do not believe spirit can be taken over by a flu. I don't. I don't know what spirit is, but I don't think it's what we think we are. I don't think it's a body. yeah, that can catch a cold if it's got a window open, or eat something wrong, get super sick. I don't believe spirit has the same experience here as a body. I just don't. All right. So I do not believe we have a spiritual malady. I believe we have a mental malady, because that's what it says. The mental malady, the problem resides in the mind. So we have a mental malady because this mental tumor has grown to a very large size, and it's taking up all the space in our fucking little head. Yeah. And we're not seeing what's happening. We're looking from its interpretation. And of course, when we're looking from its invitation, which is explained as we go on, so very clear, when the spiritual malady is overcome, I believe when the mental malady is overcome, and where does it pivot in our program? Loss of interest in self. Yeah. Right on page 63, I think, when they start talking about all these incredible effects that are going to happen, but they all pivot on losing interest in self. Yeah. Losing interest in a mental preoccupation is really going to open up the recognition of our underlying spiritual condition. Yeah. There's something an unsuspected inner resource which will now be suspected. Yeah. And you'll probably, if you follow our suggestions here, come to rely on that unsuspected before inner resource, which is our inherent condition, which is not mental nor physical. Yeah. Yeah. So here we go. So I'm not a believer in that. We listed people here. We're just told you says it. You got to put it down on paper. You don't do don't record it and then play it on audio. Just do what they say to do. Just do it the way it's put out in the book. Yeah. And then go with it. Yeah. So we asked ourselves why we were angry. And then basically here it says, in most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, there's that word again, self. Yeah. Our pocketbooks, our ambitions, our personal relationships. Oh, all of our stuff that may not be our stuff. Yeah. Including sex, were hurt or threatened. Yeah. Because this is what's looking at us. The thing that we have given it the job to tell us what's going on. Yeah. Sees everything as pretty much a threat. So basically, including we were hurt or threatened. So when we were now burned up, we went back through our lives. Here we go. The first thing that appeared was that this world and its people were often quite wrong. Us being excluded from that. If this isn't the epitome of self-centeredness, I don't know what. I remember I used to, in these other groups I'd work with, this one lady got in touch with me and says, "It's incredible. I've lost my ego. Now the only thing that's bothering me is everyone else's ego." Yeah. If only those egos would stop bothering me, my egoless state would be much better. It's all head. Your spiritual belief is head. Yeah. Your physical condition is your head. You can be healthy as a bull, but be a hypochondriac and act as if you're super sick every fucking day. This is the head. The head is doing it all. Yeah. It needs to be, its influence in our life needs to be diminished. And you cannot do that through the head. Self, AKA head, cannot get out of self, AKA head. Yeah. We needed another solution. They discovered it. They didn't come up with it. They got hit by the grace, and they discovered it, that a spirit's condition is going to win the day. Yeah. And lo and behold, which it is such great news, because we actually are a spiritual condition. So the ingredient that has seemingly been missing hasn't been missing. We just haven't been seeing it, because we've been seeing from a mental preoccupation. Yes? The mental preoccupation diminishes a little. You see the obvious. Yeah? What's making me breathing? Not my thought. What's pumping the heart? Not what's having thoughts. Yeah? Could you imagine if the mental state had the chore of pumping? You'd be dead in about 5 seconds. It would go up the ass of self somewhere, and you'd pass away. Even though you had an important engagement to keep about an hour or two later, it wouldn't matter. You'd be dead. All the shenanigans need the light of spirit. They need it. Without that, the head can't do all of its fucking triple somersault jumps on the ice. It can't, there's nowhere to push off from. So, yeah, so here we go. Yeah, we conclude, obviously, everyone's wrong. What's going to happen then? Obviously, resentment, yes? Yeah, resentment. And the funny thing is, it's not only resentment, there's an investment in resentment. There's a famous story called Freedom from Bondage. I don't know if they still put it out in the new editions. If you can see it, I would suggest you read it. It's about a woman, a real down and outer, that she finally realized she had to get sober, yeah, or it's going to kill her. So she starts getting sober, and her whole life, she had this problem with her mother. She resented her mother, and she's blamed her mother for tons of shit, why her marriages didn't work, and all this stuff. And she had a story that coincided with all that, which is, I would do anything to be rid of the resentment. But that was not true, yeah? And that was discovered by when she discovered the unsuspected inner resource. When that started to come in her life, she saw the real agenda of the resentment, and it was like the golden fucking calf, yeah? The head was thriving on this resentment to rationalize all these other defeats in her life. So she realized that. She realized, Jesus, I'm the last person that wants to let go of this resentment. Yeah, so that story was bogus. And I got to do something or this is going to kill me, like it says here. Resentment is a #1 offender. It kills more alcoholics than anything else. She realized the gravity of that. She didn't know what to do. So she was in a dentist office or something, and it was one of those magazines. And in the magazine, there was a weird article about some clergyman about if you have a resentment that you can't seem to let go of, follow these suggestions and see what happens. So she was at wit's end, so she did. Yeah. And it said to pray to that for that person to have everything you want and more, even if you don't mean it, just pray for them to get it. Yeah. And just do it for a while and see what happens. I have put this to the test a number of times in early recovery. And what happened to me is when that person's name came up with all that bile and fucking venom, after doing this for a little while, their name would come up. I could not stop their name coming up, but their name would come up and I would feel good. Yes. I'd feel like love to them and love for myself. Yes. So I was freed from the effects of self-defeating me through that resentment. Yeah. By this simple process. Yeah. You're not going to stop the thought of that person coming up. You're not, because you don't even know what thought's coming up. You're always surprised, aren't you? Literally. You're just walking around, you're having a lovely day with a person, and then your head says, she's out to get you or something. You have no idea. You weren't thinking it. It just pops in. And then, so basically, what do you do after it pops in is really where we need some skillful means. And so here it is. Yeah. Here it is. If you have a one that's really, really got you by the balls or wherever, this works. Yeah. I can tell from my own experience. I remember it because I had this girlfriend in the beginning, my first fairy princess in AA. Of course, both of us had the inability of having a viable relationship. The way she dealt with that was taking a lot of naps. I don't know how I dealt with it. So basically, the relationship was destined to part, but it bummed me out, yeah, because she was beautiful, really, Nat. And one day there was an AA thing going on in Sausalito near here in the day, a little party, and I went there. And lo and behold, who walks in but my ex-girlfriend with her new boyfriend, going to be husband. And I swear to God, it was like a spotlight appeared and was right on them too, with a very nice benevolent lighting, and almost like rose petals were fucking falling down. And I just hated her and him. And it was so bad I had to leave the party. It was just unbearable. And I did this shit when I got home. That thing that lady suggested in Freedom from Bondage, I did it. And I did it for a few weeks because her names and his name, Tom, would come up, and I'd have ill feelings about myself and them. And that changed. Yes? All I had to do is not fucking act out and just take the medicine, stay on the operating table, and it worked. And I have the eyes to see when shit works. Yeah, thank God. So it worked. Yeah, so resentment is the number one offender, because the thing is, the system doesn't want, it's sort of like a furniture store. It has its advertisings in the paper, and you see the couch and it looks beautiful, and then you call up innocently and order the couch, and they say, what size is it? You say, and okay, that will fit. And then you set up the delivery, and then it's never delivered. And you call up the place and you're going, well, hey, what happened to the couch? Yeah, I bought it, it's not here. Well, we ran into distribution problems or something. There's always a fucking excuse or a rationale or a blaming of someone else, to cover the failure of just the delivery. Yes, sounds like the head. We're listening to a failed system. It's full of excuses and blaming others and rationale because it doesn't deliver the goods. Yeah. Yet we keep subscribing to it because of the identification as self. Yeah. And when we want to get out of it, we try to get out of it, which is as self. Yeah. Self is formed in the system. Self is what appears on top of the system. Self is the idea of getting out of the system. And all it is being in self. All of it. Whole enchilada, you never get out of anything. Yeah. This is what we found out in recovery. A lot of people were more earnest and willing than probably most of us, and they gave it a real good shot, and they came to a conclusion, a very clear one: self can't get out of self. Fantastic. They passed it on to us to save us a lot of time and trouble. Yeah. Hopefully. And here we are. We're just attempting to save some time and trouble. Yeah. There's having trouble and there's having your trouble. They're quite different. Yeah. Everyone has trouble. No one has your trouble, at least the way the head presents it. Yeah. Everyone runs into trouble, but no one has your trouble. You see, it tries to make a common event very unique. Yes, yes. It's like we get stung all day. We're so used to getting stung, we don't even know we're getting stung. Like a wasp thing should get your attention. No. I hate him. I don't afraid of this. I'm not going to get what I want. I'm going to lose what I have. Now, come on. Let's have a kumbaya moment. No, it's not going to be a kumbaya moment. Yeah. So, yeah. There you go. That's about all. It goes on. I guess it goes on, but you got the point there from here. I do not believe spirit gets sick. I do not. I do not believe you have actually anything to do with your spirit. Yeah. Excuse me.
Thanks, Paul.
Sorry,
Makes a lot of
I'm at
sense.
the meeting. Bye-bye. It was self-calling. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you got any questions for Paul, please raise your virtual hands.
Someone just did. They called me, but cut them off.
We're more important.
Who else? Who wants to share? Karen, I think Ray is, I don't know, either she needs help or she's putting up her hand. I don't know. I think she's putting up her hand.
Both. Can you guys hear me? My internet might be a little
Yeah,
unstable.
I hear you. I
Yeah, I can
can
hear
hear.
you.
It's good to be here. Thanks for everything. So I love coming to these meetings, but it's always a little danger sign when I show up here because I'm like desperate. Like I listen to your podcast but like when when I come to the live ones, it's because I'm like, ooh, I really
Yeah.
want to get out of this thing, you know? But I had an experience today where I could,
Karen, can I just throw something in? When you feel
yeah,
that you really want to get out of something, maybe just ask who is that which wants to get out of it. It just
yeah.
may, it will. Just take a step back and ask that simple question. Don't, not for an answer, just to, it'll be like a wrench in the works. Yeah, you'll have a pause. All right, continue. Sorry.
Well, that's so cool because I actually had that. I had a moment of relief listening to you now when you said, it takes a common problem and tries to make it unique. Like it's always working, it always has an angle. And I felt this moment of relief. And I had that same moment of relief yesterday when I'm in Norway and the snow melted. I woke up and all the snow had melted. And I saw the snow had just turned into water and all the leaves looked like they were made of diamonds.
Mm.
And I knew everything was okay. And I thought I got to keep that feeling because I was obsessed about my job and some guy and the usual. You know, I was in self and I got removed from self and I thought I would gonna get to keep it for maybe a day. But you know, it came back and then right now I had another moment of relief where I really felt it was okay and I was out of self. So basically my question, I don't even know if this is a question, but it's like when do I get to keep it? You know, like how when do you get to keep it? When
Yeah.
does it stay for
You don't
longer?
you don't keep it. You don't keep it. What happens is when the, let's say, the migration from of the interest and attention from self to the spirit, you'll have these moments of relief, and then there'll be like a buoy that pops up onto the surface, and then your life will move you farther, and there'll be rough water, and then another buoy. Yes. What happens, I humbly believe, is that is on an experiential level. What happens is an underneath connection. Like it's, you know, the largest living thing, I think, is in Oregon. It's just a giant mushroom that's underneath the ground. Yeah. It's connected for miles and miles and miles, and you don't even see it. So this is sort of what happens when you're going to be established in a new basis. A basis is not an experience. It's almost like the trampoline that puts you into experiences. So the basis is gonna, so this sewing, like you one stitch and then shit happens and then another stitch shit happens. There's gonna be an underlying basis that's getting sewn, yeah, where your attention and interest will be more resting on the basis than trying to capture or pick or grab the experiences, yeah. So the experiences, when we're living on the surface, they're the most important fucking thing, but they're really determined by the underlying basis. And you're going to drop more down. And instead of trying to have the buoy, you'll see from one buoy, there's a connection to the other buoy. You don't see it on the surface, but there is. And you're going to feel that. And it's going to allow you to travel lighter. I don't know how to say it any better, but it's sort of experiences. A flow isn't an experience if you're in it for a while. It's a current, and it's more of a direction. Yeah. So it's not each second is framed and separate. It's more like what's flowing through each separate seeming film, sequence is really the theme of the movie, so to speak. Well, you get connected to that theme in the movie, and that which is running that basis has a different plan for you, yeah, than your head does. And you will find out its plan by living your life sober. Yeah. and you'll probably come to an incredible amount of gratitude, because you're not going to stabilize the surface, and you're just another bobbing ball on the top, the head. Yeah. You're going to find a deeper connection that's not affected by all the waves and the boys coming and the boyfriends leaving and the job showing or not. The traveling lighter isn't escaping or all the surface obstacles. It's flowing underneath. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
So just stick with it.
Well, yeah, that really helps. And
Yeah.
I
Enjoy the
just
free
realized it's
sample.
happening.
Yes, it is happening. This is the point. See, when we're so worried about the patchwork of the surface, something much more stable and reliable is being sown in underneath. Yeah, you're going to have a new attitude and outlook. That is not an experience. A new attitude and outlook is not an experience. It's a basis. It's before experience. Experiences are the up and down of the effect of life hitting a trampoline, so to speak. Yeah. The basis. So if you change in a trampoline, if you change the tightness of the springs, you wouldn't jump so far all the time. Yes? Yes.
Mm.
This is what happens with life in recovery. It changes our basis really fundamentally from a self-centered view to a larger panoramic view. So, and the process, I believe, just like people constantly say the problem is progressing, I think the solution does too. And I think the solution can't lose the race of progress because it's always available at all times. Yeah. Your saving grace is your inherent condition. What a great place to have the solution right where you are at all times. With no requirement necessary.
That's what I was just gonna say. To say thank you, like thank you. I'm so glad I'm an alcoholic. Like thank God I have this thing.
Yes, something had to come about to get your attention. So alcoholism's pretty good. When you finally admit that you're fucked, a lot of good things can occur. Yeah. This is the sorrow of it, is when you know what it's like in the solution, and you wish you could instill or inject that into the person that's seeing the solution from the problem. It's just, you would, but hey, life is the greatest teacher, and yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so great. Enjoy Norway. Yeah.
I
You're there,
will.
you might, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But yes, just remember, while we're looking for, like, we don't see all the pearls are connected by a certain string, and we're worried about the pearls. Don't worry. The necklace will be strung beautifully. You need that strong foundation, which is the string, not the pearls. Yeah. And this is the new basis of our life, a new attitude and a new outlook. Wow. Yeah. Looking at, self-centeredness is one way of seeing, and then centeredness is another way of seeing. But what they see and what gets interpreted and how it looks is completely different. Yeah. Yeah. This is what we're under. We're being, and the head is probably against every one of the additions it's putting in place, the solution, but it's overmatched now. Yeah. It's outmatched. So hallelujah. Yeah. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it always materializes. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Sonny. Yeah.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for Paul at the moment? So I've got no other questions just at the minute, Paul. Oh, I've got a question for you. from Beans. Beans, would you like to unmute yourself?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, sweet. Hello, Paul, mate. I've been watching your videos for a while, a few weeks, and I keep getting like these like glimpses or whatever you want to call it, like when I get like close. But every time it happens, it's accompanied by like this background sense of like horrible existential dread, and I think like it's coming from like what you would call the head. But like
Yes.
it makes me want to retreat back into the head. It's almost like that's like a little bunker that I can like hide in, and like and then when I start coming out of it, it like it fires this existential dread like a fucking cannon into my brain, and then it's like and then I'll hide again back in the, and then it's like this is like the loop I'm caught in. So like I don't know if I have a question, but just more so like just like it's just like a dilemma that I'm facing. I wonder if that's a common thing for other people.
Yes. It's a common thing. Yes, of course. When everything is, if the system's not threatened, it may seem docile. But if you, let's say, tickle its belly, it's going to kick your ass. So it's worse if it seems to be all, oh yes. It's nice when the bottom sand gets shook up. Yeah. Yeah. It's not, it's so you can really see its agenda. And what better description for a parasitical event than just what you said? Yeah. So you start coming out of the shell and the shell drags you back in. I guess there's two things that seem to be thinking they're living in the shell, the hermit crab and the shell. Yeah. But the only living thing is the hermit crab. But the shell is telling the hermit crab, if you leave here, you're totally fucked. So the hermit crab keeps running back into the shell. But it's not having a big life of crabbing. It's a little claustrophobic in there. Yeah. And it basically has given the shell the right to tell the hermit crab what's going on. Yeah. And now you got the marathon runner trying to live comfortably in a closet. That's what happens. So this is definitely part of the process. The system is a jealous system. If you ever read the Old Testament, their description of God sounds like the parasitical head to me. It's a God that brooks no other God put before it. It's jealous. It's fucking will smote you and threaten you at every moment. It sounds like the head myself. So this thing is playing God. And that's the emphasis, playing God. It's not God, it's playing God. Yeah, this is the great news. Yeah, so that which is playing God, how would you affect its influence? By losing interest in it, really? Because if you spend any time trying to convince it not to play God, to me, that's humbly, it's wasted time. Just to see that which is playing God isn't you. And then you'll get more interested in you. What you really are, let's say, instead of this mental you that you're not. Yeah. And the system will threaten you with a lot of fucking catastrophe. But there is a point where the gravitational pull of an imaginary planet is going to lose out to the gravitational pull of what's actually true. Yeah. You still may get radio messages from the old planet, but you've been pulled out of its gravity. Yeah. This is the process of recovery. Yeah. You get pulled out of its gravity. And then when it says, you better not do that, you just keep doing that. Yes. And its threats are, it's like the Wizard of Oz has been seen behind the curtain. When you were hearing the explosions before you saw the Wizard of Oz, the explosions had a whole lot of meaning, a whole lot more meaning than when you hear the explosions after seeing the Wizard of Oz. Yeah, because you've seen the Wizard of Oz has no clothes, so the explosions don't do the same shit they did when you thought the Wizard of Oz was huge and fucking everything like that. Yeah. So once you get a clear proportion, you'll recognize it's the mouse that's roaring, so to speak. Yeah. So it's a process for sure. You're not, it's a common held thing. Yeah, it's sort of like, that's like they were talking about. The thing is blocking you off from the sunlight of the spirit and stuff. Yeah. So here you are being drawn into the light and something's trying to draw you back. Yeah, obviously it's a perfect description of a parasitical movement. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. And play the role of the host, you'll see the parasite different. Play the role as the parasite. There you go. You're going to have a lot of grievances and resentments and everyone is wrong and shit like that. It was a common thing when I did my sexual inventory in the inventory in the fourth step. And I went over sexual relationships I had. And let's say maybe I had 10 or 15 significant sexual relationships. And I would, in some way or another, the mental conclusions was they all failed. And then I looked at what was the one constant in all those 15 relationships. It was me. I didn't go out with the same woman 15 different times. It was 15 different women with the same Paul. So finally, instead of blame, sooner or later, your own bloodhound is going to go back to the fucking scene of the crime. You just need a simple pair of glasses and you'll see the parasite's role in things or the self's role in things. And it's not a parasite. We use this imagery to produce a contrast because if there's a part of you that's living as all of you, you should check it out. Because the other parts of you may be severely, severely starved by the gluttony of the other part of you, which takes itself to be all of you. I'm going to make it a service animal. Good luck. Yeah, it's going to go with every joyous thing I could get introduced to. It will come with me and share in the joy. We'll be sitting there, me and that which defeats me, giving gratitude and honoring the greatness of the grace. Those days are over. He's not a parasite anymore. He's like a cuddly little friend. He gives me some subtle suggestions. I hate that person, but it's all right. It's not. I mean, I cherish it. I won't go anywhere unless I can bring it along. Well, there you go. Yeah. It's the bondage of something. The bondage of something, it means you're not that something that you're bonded to. Yes. The bondage of something that the glue doesn't glue the glue. Yes. The glue doesn't glue the glue. There's something, and then there's bondage, and then there's something else. In this dynamic, the something else is self, we're the us, and there's a bondage of us to self. Yeah. Where is that activity? That, I don't believe it's ever been a marriage, but you've been wed to it for 30 fucking years in the head. Yeah. I do not believe you're wedded to self. I don't. But to the head, it has tons of photo books of all your great adventures as self. It's insane. Yeah. Oh, do you remember when we just wanted to have fun and it forgets I ended up in jail? I mouthed off to the cop. They broke my ribs. Oh, it forgets that part. Oh, it was so much fun. So much fun shooting dope that night. Yeah, but at 1 a.m, being in jail wasn't that much fun. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I drank so much, I pissed in my friend's bed. Oh, it was hilarious on Monday when I went to school. No, it wasn't. It was fucking terrible. You remember we used to go out when you were young and when you got to school after the weekend, oh, it was the greatest fucking weekend. But it actually wasn't when you looked at it. You were running from the cops. You got your ass kicked. But when you get to school, by the time you get to school, it's become a great adventure, isn't it? This is insane. It doesn't work when you're older. Forget it. So there's a solution, bro. It's so great, eh? There's a solution to it all. If there wasn't a solution, this would be a different Zoom. It would be. It would be. It would probably be no Zoom. But there is a solution. That's the opening. That's it. That is what that parasite wants you to forget actively every day. But there is a solution. It's great, yeah? We can joke about it because there's a solution. We can reminisce about the insanity of it because there's a solution, yeah? We're 100, or maybe here we're 38, 36 people that have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. Here we are. Well, it doesn't look what I would call recovery. Fuck the way you look at it. You are. You're recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body. You are right now. If you weren't, you wouldn't be on a Zoom luxuriating in some fucking car or bedroom. You wouldn't have a fucking bed in your room. You'd be in someone else's room and you'd be waiting for them to come home. And then you'd have to act like you liked them when you didn't like them or something, because you were totally dependent on outside shit. Yeah. There's no ease and comfort in bondage, is there? Gold chain, iron chain, it's still you're bound. I know I'm completely fucked up, but I haven't lost my mortgage yet. Well, it's probably going to be lost soon. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. Anyone else, or we'll just start saying goodbye? Oh, Peter Schatz.
Yeah, if you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Good. Good.
Hey, got a question for you.
All right.
Have you I mean, I just came across this information a bit ago, but I went to thousands of AA meetings. I never heard about it, but supposedly Bill Wilson was very much into vitamin B3, and he went on
Yes.
about it for the last 11 years of his life, supposedly, something like this.
Yes.
And I spent some time in Scientology, and they were really keen on it. And I know there's a lot of negative over there on the organization itself. But for myself, you know, this time around, I'm about 75 days sober at the moment, and I was shocked. You know, I took this niacin, and after like the second day, there was just zero craving for alcohol or drugs. There was like the thing that I was struggling to get released, like this anxiety that always seemed to be me. What I feel like it did is it's almost like I feel like there's an anxiety in the body related to like the blood not being good, that was perceived from a deeper place and identified with as who I was. But as this niacin got into the blood, all of a sudden there's like this well-being in the body, to where now I'm just like naturally wanting to help others see this deception. Because for me, what I feel like I've seen is that the alcohol would come into the body, and when the alcohol would get close to the liver, I think what the body naturally did is like, hey, fuck, the alcohol's coming. Niacin, get into the blood quick before the alcohol destroys you. So that first drink, we thought it gave us this amazing thing, but it was actually the body knew the alcohol's coming, and it took all the niacin in the liver and it threw it into the blood. So we associated this alcohol as giving us something when actually it was taking it away. So it was like this deception happening at a deeper level. And once you see it, it's like, I don't have any game, you know, it's like a real understanding happens, such that I see the con that it always was, such that now it's like, I don't know, it's a trip. And I've got like 20 people taking this niacin, and it's funny because, you know, if you think about it, it's like the sun, right? The sun brings life to everything. And you take this niacin, and it's like the sun. You feel this heat in the body. Anyway, I just wanted to share it with you and hear your take on it. I'm so grateful that, You know, I feel like I've come out of that shit that I never felt I ever really came out of, no matter how many times I stopped, because there was something happening at a subtler level that no matter how long I was sober, it didn't change. But just like Bill Wilson, when I read this article, is like, holy shit, something lifted that's never lifted. And supposedly it's this vitamin that I talked to everybody and they're like, what? Oh, yeah, that's just some stupid vitamin. And I'm like, this ain't no stupid vitamin. I've taken a shitload of drugs, a shitload, and nothing has done what this thing has done. And it cost me $7. It's like it's such a deal.
Well, it costs
Anyway,
you a lot more. Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
that?
No, before that, the cost was much higher.
Oh yeah, it was it was a lot. It
Well,
was
listen,
a lot.
it's working, and people, if they're interested in it, maybe put their thing. I don't have any familiarity with it. I have the familiarity of Bill Wilson being engaged with it, but
Also David Hawkins as well.
again, the idea of this message is the body and the mind is going to follow. So there is a lot of what you call how you feel is a body condition. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you change the body condition, but the overall condition, I humbly still believe, is it relied in the head, because it's the one that has, the head has you believing that the body's feelings are your feelings. Yeah.
But this is what I think happens though, because of the solar plexus, right? And it's like the lower chakras. So from what I feel like I
You're
saw
gonna
was
lose
that
some people with the lowest chakras, bro, Peter.
yeah, I know.
You lose some people here with the lower chakras. They're gonna think it's an island.
Well, it's funny. It's funny though, because David Hawkins, yeah, he was sober long time, and he did these levels of consciousness, and specifically, like it was all about getting over certain levels, such that then the crazy mind was just kind of like, nah, it wasn't the trouble because the energy rised up, and it would make sense that if you clean the blood, we've got miles of veins, that the current, because the blood's flowing better, then there's a higher electrical charge in the body, a higher vibration.
Yes, but
so
I'm happy for the share and
yeah,
to talk about it, but again, the problem resides in the mind. Definitely, it expresses in the body, but there is something there that is not going to be. It's not going to be withdrawn by getting into an incredibly good physical condition. It's going to be very helpful to be in a physical condition to enjoy sobriety and recovery. But the head itself, if it doesn't find that story that you're describing, it will make another story. Yes. And so yes, the story could be, it's got to be niacin. It's going to do something. Yeah. So, but I'm really happy that you found the relief.
I guess the thing that I got really down on was not really down, but where I can't get over it. You know, there's the big book. It's like there's been 4 editions, yeah, and then here's this founder, and this was the thing that he found, yeah, through David Hawkins and Abraham Hoffer, and yet that information isn't contained in the big book in any way. And I feel like that's like crazy that the founder found this, and this was the thing that he went on about, but somehow the book that he kind of brought into existence, it's not in there. And I mean, I attempted suicide. I went to some horrible, hellish places in my journey to try and get to where I am today. And it's like, it feels crazy that that's not included in the big book, if nothing else than but a footnote saying, hey, this thing, which costs nothing, which your body's made of, maybe you want to try it. That's what did something for the founder. It seems like it's a scam that it's not in there, like somebody suppressed it. Personally, that's just my take on it.
I wouldn't. The point is really with the big book, they want to have a sanctity of it being just the way it was presented in 39. Yeah. So the idea is, if just like you, no matter what happened, you were brought to finding relief through this niacin somehow. Yes. So in a lot of other ways, what makes the niacin work, maybe you're looking for the niacin. Yes. So there's a lot of,
I don't think it's that simple though. I mean, really, if you've ever taken it, you actually feel this immense heat from the crown chakra, the top, and then it comes down. It's like there's a well-being that comes over the body. You're like, holy shit.
yeah. Yes. Well, that's good. I think that will be a very important supplement to recovery for you.
For sure.
But remember, the head is going to claim to be the one who's taking the niacin. You know, it's important to see. And then it's going to make up something of, it's going to make up a story out of the niacin. Yeah, that's what it does. So but that's great. I'm happy. Maybe people, I don't think it's going to kill you if you take niacin. So if people want to try it.
Yeah.
Next week I'll be here and we'll have a Zen Bitch Slap niacin for sale for like $80 a bottle. We'll throw a t-shirt in. We'll throw a t-shirt in there with it. Yeah. We'll commoditize it fast. But yeah, it's available. I remember the documentary with Bill, but Bill was going a little crazy with huge dosages and shit. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what's crazy because
Bill went crazy on everything. He went crazy on the LSD.
I know, but hold on, because this is what's interesting. If you look into it, the body, the rarest essential amino acid is tryptophan. And yet that guy's willing to sacrifice at a rate of 60-1 to create niacin. So what does that tell us about niacin? If the truth of the body, if the rarest essential amino acid is willing to sacrifice 60 of itself just to create one niacin, and then we're told, oh, you only need 32, that makes no sense. If the rarest one is willing to sacrifice at 60-1 for that guy, I don't think that he took mega doses. I think we've been lied to keep us in a low, sick place because Big Pharma can collect 1.5 trillion from that business.
Now we're getting out of the thing.
I hear you.
We don't have opinions on that
stuff,
but I'm all open. If anything works, if fucking, tanning your right cheek would work, I would be telling people to go to a tanning booth for your right cheek. I don't care. Whatever works. So simple. I know what happened with me, if we have a minute here. I came in, I got sober super sick. Yeah. So my needing to be healthy wasn't a requirement. I was super sick. I had a large colony of staph living on a metal rod in my leg from getting run over by a car. And without knowing it, and without the doctors knowing it, I got sober. And the first year, let's say, the zest for living didn't seem to be available, but it didn't matter. The sobriety was more than enough. And then through the sobriety, I was led to find out that I had this staph. And it was a huge colony, and they were amazed that I had even survived. And they had first they didn't want to spend the money probably, so they just tried to clean it off the rod. Then they released me, and then that night it came back again. So they finally took the rod out of my body, and I got inundated with antibiotics for 3 months every day, IV bags. And sort of it got killed sufficiently that I started to enjoy sobriety so much more. But sobriety I didn't necessarily have to be in any condition to be struck sober. So, and I believe if part of your recovery is you're going to get physically a lot better, that's going to happen. If it's not, you're still going to be sober. Yeah. And yeah. So I'm really happy you throw it out there. Maybe somebody's going to get relief and it's not a big investment. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice. And then obviously, we don't have proprietary rights and we're not going to be selling it quickly. And I believe your share was given in the great sense of service, and we receive it that way. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, man. And keep us up and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, we'll do.
Why don't you, Peter, if you want, just put in the chat you would take to be as an introductory level of taking it, just as a suggestion.
Sure.
They're not promoting it, but hey, this is open source.
No,
so-
it's just, it's the thing of just sharing my experience with it, and if it feels it connects to you, then yeah.
Yeah, so just put it in chat. Somehow it'll come up and people can pick it up. But give them not the, introductory dose or whatever. Yeah. Yeah. You don't want someone to feel too good too fast. It's going to go to their head. I could feel better if I microdose while I'm doing this.
Well, this is what's crazy. What happened to me is I started just going into cafes and getting people that I could see they're struggling. Here, take this. I was just giving it away because I knew I was feeling so shitty and did so much. I felt like I felt very much like Bill Wilson. Yeah.
I felt this joy when I was trying to share this message. I'm just going to, there's some warnings about how you may be received.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm happy you shared it, and we get the joy of it. And isn't it great? There is a solution. So
yes,
one aspect of the grace of the solution triggered relief from this underlying sense of view that was been claimed by the head and used to keep you bound. You found a simple solution to it. Fantastic. That's what I love. That's the solution. There'll be more solutions. Yeah.
Yeah.
To us. All right. Well, I got to get going, bro, and say goodbye to everyone. But thank you, Peter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Michael, Stacy, I hope to see you later. Don't overdose on niacin, Michael.
Yeah, I won't. Hey, Paul.
I'm joking, but I'm happy. What?
A little birdie may or may not have told me that a friend of ours, Kathleen, may or may not be celebrating 24 years today. So happy birthday, Kathleen.
Oh, Kathleen. 24 years in Florida. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
I would sing, but you'd probably rather not me singing. So just all great. Yes. Yeah. Fantastic. To me, the anniversary of sobriety is more important than born. Yeah. Yeah. So congratulations.
Birthday, they call it.
24 years. Yeah.
They call it birthday out where you are, right, Paul?
Yes. Yes. It's important. To me, it made more importance, obviously. It was the rebirth, as it says in the third step. You'll be reborn. And so it is. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So we got congratulations. Everyone wishes you the best, Kathleen. Yeah. Mickey, the matriarch of Madeira. Yeah. If a tornado doesn't move for a long time, it's not a tornado, honey. There you go. A tornado needs tornadoing. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Mr. B, nice to see you. Steve, San Diego. Always a pleasure. Rich, not Rich. There he is. John S. Really, if we have a relation with resentment, let's keep it at resentment, not my resentment. Yeah, just that's not a hard thing to recognize. Yeah, it's not much of an effort to stop throwing the word my. Just see what happens. Yeah. And then sometimes the effect of not calling it your resentment, you'll realize the effect of the language of my. Yeah. By its absence, you'll see how much my implies. My implies a lot of fucking meaning. Yeah. And you may not see it while it's constantly being posted on everything. But if you stop it for a while, you'll see. Yeah. So resentment, not mine, not ours, not yours. John, nice to see you, John, wherever you are. Axel, as always. Gary C. in Placerville. Always a pleasure. Ben, nice to see you, Ben. Joseph, as always, France. Tom in Denver. Beans, B-E-E-N-S. That's cool. Nice to see you. Thank you for your share, man. Yeah. Dennis W. Karen R. Nice to see you, Karen. You seem very comfortable in Norway. Yeah. Kathleen, driving around in Florida. Roman Mueller, my main man in Germany. Annette, Paula, Rob, Kentucky. Jeffrey, Seattle. Crispy, Gail, Pink Cloud. Oh, Gail has returned.
Absolutely. This is the only place where I can come and get support for being relieved of the burden of self, the bondage of self. Everybody else keeps telling me I should be feeling bad. I should be something's. I was listening to, just real quickly, a video. My son passed away 3 years ago, and I was watching his celebration of life on video for the first time in 3 years. And someone said, "Oh," and I was feeling just at peace. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, if you start feeling bad, well, you know, when the bad feelings come on, make sure you do an inventory, make sure. No, I'm back here where I get to be, there's support for recovery here. That people
Well,
don't believe that you can get free. And I'm just free in so many ways. I'm so free today. I live freedom of self. You know, the third step prayer is my favorite prayer. And here's where I get full support that, yes, you can be free. That's real. It's not some cloud that's going to disappear tomorrow. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody, for who's here.
Oh, that was a wonderful, thank you, honey. And yes, I missed you, Gail, but I knew you were in the pink clouds. How could I actually miss you? Yeah,
Right.
there you go.
Never left. Never left.
There you go. Having never left. Fantastic. That was a very beautiful meeting today. Chris B., Massachusetts, as always. Jeffrey in Seattle, he's delivering ears or eyes or something to people. That's not a bad service. Rob in Kentucky, Paula, Annette. Let me get to the other ones. We've got Christine in Kona. Always nice to see Christine. Bins, John S. in Florida. I think I said hello already. Maybe everyone here. Dennis, I think I got Dennis. Yeah, Michael Stacy provides a lot of service. I know it looks like he's doing it quite naturally, but he actually is one of the linchpins of this presentation every Tuesday, both meetings. We have another meeting today at 4:30 Pacific time, and he's always there. And just I want to really share my appreciation of Michael Stacy and everyone here, Mickey, everyone, but Michael Stacy for allowing these meetings to continue and yeah, a very strong commitment. All right, thank you, everyone. Pleasure to see everyone. I'll see you soon. Hopefully today, later. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep.